So it's 3:20 in the morning. Just loaded up the trailer. My neighbor dropped off his Texas Chopper. Got the trailer hooked up, threw the bike in. We're about to head out to the shop. Last minute type of deal, so that's why I'm recording on a phone. Already in the trailer is the HD Tard. This one, Texas Chopper, it's been sitting for a while. We're gonna get it back up and running. Check it out, look at that. 8-ball rolling, jockey shift. So he's thinking about selling it. He's not sure yet. So we might leave it jockey shift for someone to buy, or we might get some different forward controls because it's got a hydraulic foot clutch. We'll get all of that checked out and get this thing back up and running. Close this up and let's get out of here.
Sorry, bro, but this show's about me.
Yo! So I got the bike unloaded. This is I forgot to ask him. It's an early model American Ironhorse, the Texas Chopper. American Ironhorse was one of the first custom chopper manufacturers out there. I think it was before Big Dog, but I could be wrong. But Big Dog, American Ironhorse were probably the biggest as far as like mass production choppers out there when choppers were the thing. And then I think there was like Titan out of Phoenix, Arizona, and then later on like Swift. But the two biggest ones that everybody knows about is Big Dog and American Ironhorse. So American Ironhorse was actually founded by two partners. It was Bill Rucker and Tim Edmondson. And they sold, I think, in '98. They had the no compete, and then I think it was like a 3 or 5 year no compete. So 98, 99, 2001, 2. Yeah, so about a 5 year, because I think I worked for him in '06 and he was already back to building his own bikes, Rucker Performance. And Tim Edmondson had Edmondson Custom Built. These were the original like choppers that they had. The very first models didn't have raked trees or anything like that, so they were horrible. They would flop real bad, and they just rode pretty bad, you know. Now American Ironhorse, I don't know if you knew this, how their bikes work. In the early days, this is an actual Sportster tank. They used to buy them by the bushel, like pallets of these Sportster tanks, and they had a jig and they would cut them into like 4 or 5 pieces, and then they had specially stamped pieces, and so they'd put them on a jig and they would weld it all up. The reason they did that is there's actually a channel in the backbone portion of this tank, and what it does is it divides the left side from the right side of the gas tank, and when you put the gas in there, it fills up to the top. Well, instead of a crossover tube, what American Ironhorse had is they had 1/8 inch MTP fittings with barbed fittings in there. Then the fuel line comes out of that and it goes to a petcock, which is mounted on the right hand side just above the air cleaner. Here's a picture of it since you can't see it on the other side, and I don't want to walk to the other side with the camera. So that's what it looks like. And so what you do is you have the valve, and then you can decide on your own if you want the front to be reserved or the back to be reserved. And so what you do is when you push it forward, it uses the fuel out of one side of the tank. So it's going to use it all. And then once it gets to that certain point where the divider's at, then it starts using the gas out of the one side. So then when you run out of gas, if you click it to the other side, you start using the other side of the fuel. So that's your reserve, is this little channel inside the backbone, so you don't have a regular petcock. So these things are way down low, so it's not all the way in the back to where if you get trash or anything in the tank, it's gonna suck the trash out and go into that into the petcock. It actually is up just a little bit. Plus, there wasn't any clearance to put them in there because of the engine. But anyways, so you get any settlement or anything from the gas was gonna settle in the back of the tank, which is kind of nice to do that. But yeah, so you get like almost all the usage out of this tank. American Ironhorse, the problems that they have is the aluminum in the sprockets that they are machining were really soft. So what they would do is they start to fatigue, and then the aluminum starts wearing off, and then that gets impregnated into the belt. And I said impregnated. And then the aluminum starts making, so it starts chirping on decel real bad. And so people always wonder what the chirping sound is. Well, it's the aluminum coming off of the back pulley that's impregnated in the belt, and then when it runs across the front metal pulley, that's what's making the chirping. So it sounds like something in the primary is going wrong, but it's actually the pulley. So there is a company, because you can't replace it. So if you're trying to keep your American Ironhorse stock or whatever, and this goes for all belt-driven Harleys and motorcycles, V-twins, there's a company, I'd have to look it up. It was in the back of like some magazines, and I have tons of magazines so I can look them up. There's a company that actually machines all of those little rounded rubber, the little rounded teeth on the pulleys. They machine it off, and then they put some of the black Durlin, I can never say it right. They put the black they put the black plastic stuff, and they've machined it. And so it's machined in circles with the little nubs in it, so you get them 75s, whatever. So what they do is they put those and they install it, and then they put set screws to hold them in, and then it doesn't do it anymore. It's crazy. That's one of the big fixes that you can do on an American Ironhorse. Transmissions tend to go out, so people will change that out. That doesn't happen near as much as the chirping does. The electrical, I think Ironhorse in 8 years has changed their electrical harnesses 4 or 5 times. I think NAMS has a replacement harness. So if you have an Ironhorse and you're having problems with it, you're trying to find the parts. Of Thunder Heart, I think, is one of the manufacturers of the ignition systems. Pull all that junk out, get with NAMS, they'll get you taken care of. The speedometers were made by like Thunder Heart and a couple other companies, and they would go out and they were just, I'm not saying Thunder Hearts is the one, but the original ones that Ironhorse had on there were junk. So I think they were replacing them with the Thunder Heart ones or whatever. Dakota Digital sells a replacement one. So if you want the speedometer and the tachometer and the blinkers and all the dummy gauges, and I'm not calling you a dummy if you have those gauges, that's just the reference that they use for them. But anyways, they make like a bolt-in replacement for those, so that's pretty cool. The only ones that it doesn't is the later models. I think it's like 08 and later. They have that V-shaped ones that's machined in there. You lose that. I think they make an attachment to where the top piece bolts on, and it hangs from the bottom, and it's just a billet piece that just fills in that void. So when you bolt it in from the bottom, it kind of gives it that nice stock look, even though it's using a Dakota Digital. But other than that, American Ironhorse bikes were great. The early models needed rake trees. You needed to change the pulley when they started squeaking. Electrical system, you just pull that out, you put NAMS in there and a Dakota Digital, and you're good to go. You'll be riding a chopper in no time. So this one here is my neighbor Scotty Graves' bike. You probably don't know him, but I did catch him in Sturgis on another YouTube page. Yep, that's Scotty with the boys from Thrashing. He's a big fanboy. No, not really. He's a really cool guy. He's probably one of my favorites in the neighborhood. He had got this bike from his family. I think this was his uncle's bike, I believe, and his uncle passed. His uncle was older than him, obviously, quite a bit older than him, which is crazy that this is an older guy's chopper because it's jockey shift, no clutch lever. So that's pretty crazy. When I talked to Scotty, I was telling him that the year model he has, I was like, man, I don't think that's a great handling one, especially for jockey shift. Like, that's gotta be hard. But then when I saw it, I noticed that this one isn't like the early ones. This one has been modified like you're supposed to. So usually what you do is you're gonna take the early models and you're gonna put, I think it's a 5-degree tree, and that kicks the rake out and it makes it handle so good so it doesn't flop. Look at that. That's like stock Harley feeling. If you get an early model American Ironhorse and it's on there, I would probably have to grab with both hands to make it turn like that, to turn straight. It's crazy. Yeah, I was checking it out, and it's got a lot of the Chopper Day stuff, you know. He converted it over to jockey shift. It's got a hydraulic foot clutch, which most people do the cable hydraulic, or the cable foot clutch. This one's got the hydraulic clutch in it. The rake trees, the upside down front headlight, that's some serious OCC. I think Orange County Choppers was really popular for doing that. When I see this, I remember the fighter jet bike that they did with the one under there. Yeah, it's got all of the, I don't know if it's whose it is, but it kind of reminds me like Polyaffi with Alibaba riser caps. I don't know if you remember those. That's how you can tell I've been around the choppers for a while. But Polyaffi used to have Alibabas, but I don't think these are his. I think these are like Accutronics or somebody maybe, because they got that real gothic-y kind of looking. Like this triple tree sitting straight up probably looks like the Batman symbol, but it's pretty cool looking. I mean, this is perfect early 2000s chopper stuff, you know. Got the tall sissy bar with the spike that I see baggers riding around with on. I don't know why the bagger guys have the big fat spiked sissy bars, but they do. They open belt drive. I think this has got like a 240. Scotty got this from the family after his uncle had passed, and so it's been sitting in his shop in his backyard for years, and I mean it's just covered in dust and dirt. So he asked me to get it running for him, and I told him no problem. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing running again, and we'll take it for a spin and take it for a ride, see how the jockey shift works and everything, and then we'll check with him, because he's not sure if he wants to keep it and ride it every once in a while, because he's got like a 2020 or newer bagger is what he rides. I'm not sure. I've never really seen it in person. I just know he goes to Sturgis like every year. So I know he has a bagger. So this is going to be maybe his bar hopper. It might be for sale. So if you're interested, leave a link in the comments, and I'll get you in touch with him, or leave a comment below and I'll get you in touch with him. But we're gonna go ahead and go through everything. I think this has got like a 107 SNS. It's got a 6-speed transmission. It's jockey shift. We might, for selling purposes, it might sell better if he had it back with a regular clutch so you could ride it. He doesn't feel like he would be comfortable riding it jockey shift. I'm gonna ride it jockey shift because I know how to ride them, and then after I get it test ridden and everything's going good and it's ready, then I'll get him some prices on a new clutch lever, maybe swap out the forward controls for just a regular set of forward controls, so that way it would go back and I could just put a long shift linkage on there and make it back to a regular shifting bike. But as far as that, we're gonna put a battery, fresh fluids, air pressure in the tires. It does have a Metzler in the back and an Avon in the front. I'm not sure which one's which. I thought they only came with the Metzlers, but I'm gonna check the born on date. We'll go through that. We'll check the brake fluid. We might just go ahead and flush it just because it's been sitting for so long. Clean out the gas tank. I opened the gas cap and it didn't smell too bad, but we will definitely have to clean the carb. So that's just a little history on American Ironhorse bikes and a little bit of information on the background on this bike. Yeah, so I'm excited. This is actually the first thing I've worked on for Scotty. Scotty's called me here and there asking me some tech questions, and I've answered it over the phone, but this is the first motorcycle he's brought me to work on, I guess because I'm a chopper guy type of guy. So yeah, I'm excited. I haven't ridden a jockey shift in a while since my blue bike. Well, I've ridden a couple since then, but not very often. But yeah, so I got a battery already. I'm gonna go ahead and put that on the charger so that's getting charged up. So we'll take it outside, get it power washed and cleaned off as the best we can. I mean, I can feel like the bottom of the risers are smooth, but the top is just so rough, like just the dirt has been on there forever. Slap a battery in it, check all the electrical stuff, make sure you click it real quick, but we'll go over all of that when we get it on the lift. And then I'll also show you how I put long bikes on the lifts. I do have I think it's a 12-inch extension on all of my lifts here, because just for the fact that I want to have it. So anytime I take off a rear wheel, I can roll it back a little bit and then put it on the ground. It's not gonna like barely roll and then fall and then trying to hold it while I put the axle in. It's just, so all of my racks have the 12-inch extensions, but like the Eddie Trotta bikes and stuff like that I work on, they don't fit. They hang off the back and it's like halfway up the ramp. So I'll show you my little trick that I do to keep the bikes on the lifts and keeps them safe, keeps me safe. keeps my insurance costs down low. Yeah, but other than that, it should be pretty straightforward. All right, let's get this thing washed up and get it on the rack, and I will show you step by step how I go through a bike that's been sitting for years. So the bike's all washed. Time for my little, how I put choppers on my lifts. You can do it one of a couple of ways. So everybody knows I'm a dirt bike guy. I have a ramp for dirt bikes. It's a curved ramp. These are a lot better to use than a straight ramp when you try to put a dirt bike or any kind of bike in a truck, because the straight ones give you that real sharp angle to where the curved ones kind of help round over that angle, so you don't high center your bike. So what I use is I use that ramp, so that gives me a long gradual piece, because by the time the bike starts to go that way, it's going to kind of go down, but then when it hits the ramp, it kind of picks it back up and it lets it go in somewhat level to where the little ramp, it's going to go all the way, it's going to smack bottom out on the lift before it even gets close to the wheel chuck. Also, what I'm using is a scissor jack. So what I usually do is I put it, I know where the bikes end up because I've been doing it for years. So I put it kind of back here towards the back, and then I need the ratchet. This particular jack is from Handy. They run a 7/8 socket. The ones from Drag Specialties that I use a lot, those ones run the 1-inch socket. So I have that set there, so it's ready to go. We're gonna grab the chopper, we're gonna put it on, and I'll show you exactly how I do this. With it being a longer piece, you don't have to do that big long run up to it. See how nice and easy? I'll get the wheel right about where it'll be chalked up. So you can see that it's still on the back part of the lift. I like to grab it right about where the dog bone is. I probably should have greased that because it's kind of hard to turn. But so now the bike's nice and steady. I can move it around and it's not going anywhere. The wheel chock's not even tight yet. Now once you get the wheel chock tightened up, it's not going anywhere. So let me go ahead and air it up and show you the rest of it. So I had to go to the other side of the shop to get the air hose because I shifted everything from the back side of the shop. I shifted it over to the front side of the shop, so it's kind of everything shifted so I could move some fabrication stuff around. The Kona. So there you have it. Got a Texas Chopper on the motorcycle lift. I can mess with this if I want to. I do have a stand that rolls around that goes under there that you can pump the piston and it'll lift the rear end up. So like if you got to remove a tire or something that's hanging off the back. Let's get started on getting this thing running. So the first thing I want to do is I want to take the old battery out, and then we're going to take the carburetor off. I don't know if we'll take it off, but we'll at least take the air cleaner off, take a look at the air cleaner. We're going to check out the bowl, see what the bowl looks like, and that's going to tell a lot of what we're going to have to do. So let's do that. As you can see, the petcock is different than, like I was saying earlier, that there's 3 positions. So you got left, up, which would be your off, and right. So like anytime I would ride this bike, I'd fill up the gas tank and I'd push it forward and I'd ride it till it ran out of gas, click it all the way back, blah, 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 it starts going again, and then I go straight to the gas station. So that's It's a neat little thing. I did this type of setup on the HD Tard, the Sportster, so I wouldn't have a petcock hanging off and I can get all the gas out of that thing. We'll break this down on the table, but let me go ahead and get this carb off and we'll go from there. So I did have to remove the jockey shift assembly. You have to go from the back side on an S&S carburetor to get the manifold off, because it is actually, the carburetor is actually bolted to the manifold. On a Mikuni, it's kind of like a CV carb where it just has that little rubber gasket and it's like a compression fit, and then the backing plate is what actually holds it onto it. On an S&S, you can actually run it down the road because it's never going to fall off unless you probably get an intake leak, because when the carburetor starts moving around and it goes like that, it's going to break up the seal and then you'll start sucking air in there, so decel pops and all of that other stuff will be going crazy. Yeah, it's kind of a safe way to do it. I kind of like it this way, but here nor there. I prefer Mikuni carburetors over S&S. Sorry, but that's just the way it is. So gonna go ahead and get me an extension. We'll get through here. We'll go ahead and loosen up these bolts so that the carburetor come off on that side, and then we'll take it to the bench and we'll get it taken apart. So here's the carb. It smells horrible. It doesn't look bad. Everything seems to be looking decent. So let's go ahead and crack the float bowl off. That will spin out of the way. The float bowl consists of 4 bolts. It's gonna be these 2 short ones, this 3rd short one, and then this long one. This long one goes all the way into here. It goes through the pumper, whatever that's called. It's not called a pumper. I like to use the big straight slot screwdriver because it really gets in there and it keeps from just stripping them out. So we're gonna take, that's 4 bolts removed. Just hit it with the back of the, like the not a hammer, but the back of the screwdriver sometimes. That's gonna be your spacer. You definitely do not wanna put a screwdriver and pry in there because you'll mess up the sealing surface. I'm forgetting something because this does not wanna come apart. So let's go ahead and take the accelerator pump off, because what that does is it's got a rod that goes through the carburetor. There's that. So when you turn the throttle, it pushes down. Whoa, don't lose these. Little ball bearing. And then you got your diaphragm and the rod. There's little ball bearings that go in here, so you don't want to lose those. You don't want to. This bad boy is stuck. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. Since I don't care for S&S, it's, oh, there it goes. It was just stuck. Oh my gosh. So you can see the crud that was here on this accelerator pump nozzle. Yeah, that's completely stuck. Look, it doesn't even move. My Ricky Graffio made hammer, Graffio exhaust systems. He gave this to me way before he was doing exhaust systems. He built it at one of his old jobs and gave it to me. Look at that. Oh my gosh. Yeah, this bike definitely would not run the way it sits. So I'm gonna have to use some pliers to get it out. Set that aside. Oh, man, it's bent. It's probably bent because after it had been sitting, it probably seized up and then somebody tried to twist the throttle and that bent the rod, because usually what happens is when you twist the throttle, see how that turns? Well, what happens is when that turns, it pushes down on this part of it. See the little accelerator pump right here? Pushes down. Whoop, 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 whoop. That makes this go up and down, which pushes on the diaphragm part, takes the gas out of the float bowl and then pushes it through. And then it squirts out of this piece right here, just in front of the main jet. And it's got a little spray nozzle and it sprays gas in it, so that's what gives you that frap, 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 right, that crisp punch right off of idle. All right. Everything is stuck like Chuck. There's probably a lot of Chucks out there like, I'm not stuck, and there's probably some Chucks that are like, man, she ain't worth it, man. She ain't worth it. Right, I say she's not worth the Holmes. Float works and everything, but we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna rebuild this whole thing, because if we're in here, we might as well. Okay, before I destroy that, what we'll do, use an impact driver. Make sure you get one that fits in here nice and tight. Find a nice flat part. What you're gonna do is you're gonna twist it so that it tries to, so there's one way, like on, and then there's off. So if you got a reverse thread or something. So this is gonna be, hold on, let me grab something to help. When you're a one-man show, it helps to have an extra set of hands. You want to put a little bit of a, like a twisting, a little bit of a twist on here. while you're doing that, and then when you hit it, oops, there it goes. When you hit this thing, when you hit it, it pushes in and twists at the same time. It's got like some kind of mechanism in there that does that. So when you hit it, not only are you pushing down, and then when you hit it with the hammer, it's pushing down and twisting at the same time, to where you're trying to do that with just a screwdriver, it doesn't work. So with S&S, needle and seat, this is the needle, this is the seat. The needle sits in the seat with the float bowl. So when you have gas coming in and the float's down, it holds this up, and when the float comes up, it pushes down on the needle. So needle and seat, I believe it comes with a needle and seat. Comes with this new little the sealing O-ring for the spray nozzle for the accelerator pump nozzle. So let's go ahead and grab the master kit. Actually, I don't have a master rebuild kit. So what I do have is the basic Super E&G carb kit. It comes with all the gaskets, pretty much everything we need. And then this is the accelerator pump kit for the S&S Super E&G. So this right here is pretty much what we need. The master one's gonna come with, it's gonna come with the new butterfly valve and stuff like that, which all of this works just fine. We're just gonna do a basic clean out some jets and stuff, and then rebuild all the little gaskets and seals and ship it. Noticing that this bearing is stuck in here, I'm gonna go ahead and carefully pull out these O-rings, and there's another ball bearing here with the spring. Whoop. There we go. Oh yeah, that's got some gunk in it. We'll get that clean. So we'll clean all of this out, and we'll shoot some carb cleaner through here, make sure it's spraying nice and clean, and then we'll clean out the bowl, and then we'll reassemble that. So the needle and seat, I don't have a needle and seat, but I do have a new seat, and I might have another needle somewhere, so we'll have to see. I don't think it comes in this kit. Let me look real quick so I know. There's a new needle. Oh, it already has the accelerator pump kit in it, so we won't use that. And it's got all the seals, the springs, new ball bearings, the drain hose or the overflow hose, the main gaskets. Cool, we got everything we need. Let's rebuild this bad boy. First, we're gonna take the main jet out. Main jets usually don't get clogged up very often because the orifice is so big on it. Yeah, I can see right through it. I would put it to the camera so you can see through it, but I don't think you'll be able to see. I don't know, maybe. See the light through it, maybe? Anyways, so that's pretty clean. Okay with that, so we'll go ahead and put that back together. Gas tastes horrible. Stale gas tastes even worse. I'm gonna need a smaller one for that one. Screwdriver, that is. This is the pilot jet. Yeah, I could blow through it, but it kind of doesn't look the best. So this is what I use to clean the jets with. I don't know what it's called. What does it says? Tip cleaner, used for cleaner drill, whatever the heck that means. Welding supply shops have them, and then you could probably look it up and it'll be a jet cleaner also, but it's got all kinds of different sizes, so you can go from something small for like a little baby bike to, you know, like a KLX 110 maybe, or you can use it for the big stuff. But we're doing pilot, so I always kind of work my way up, so that way kind of keep digging stuff out until it's all gone. So that goes through. This looks really good. Let's see, it won't go through those. So this is going to be the size that we're going to have to use. Cool. It's just a red Scotch-Brite pad. I'm just cleaning any of that gunk off. And you just want to get them snug. You don't want to go ape, you know what. Oh, you know what? Let's see if we can fix the bend in this, because if not, we might have to order a whole kit just to get this piece out of there. We will use this. Find the high spot, which is right there. Gotta tap it right here. Let me open this up just a little bit. I don't want to go crazy with it, so I'm just gonna tap it with a small type of hammer. Ooh, we're close. It's moving now. Let's make sure it moves through the... That's gonna have to be cleaned out for sure. Accelerator pump spot is here. Clean out the accelerator pump hole. So it moves through it now, but I don't know. I don't know if I like that. Let's see if I can lube it up and if that makes a difference. So this is an oil, kind of like a Marvel's Mystery Oil, I guess you would. Is that what that's called? So it doesn't have to move very far. It just has to move enough. So that's pretty good since I had to hit it with a hammer last time. Now it's flying through there. So let's get some spray. We're gonna spray through there. I don't think I have anything with a hose. Let me see. Okay, got some cleaner. All right. Didn't get loud. Oh, clogged. Let's clean it out. So it's not the tube that's clogged, it's this actual little head thing. So let's see if we can get it unclogged. So without this, it will have no bottom end. So that's not cleaning out. This little slit is definitely plugged up. So I'm gonna go put it in some carb dip and we'll let this soak for a while we redo the rest of it. Okay, cool. While that's soaking, let's go ahead and, what was I gonna work on next? As a matter of fact, I'm gonna go ahead and put this in there. Look at that, that is nasty. So let me go ahead and put this in the dip and then I guess we'll wait on it till it's all done. All right, got these out. I went ahead and let them soak overnight. Let's put this away. All right. Nice and clean. Look at how clean that looks. So much better. This little guy, the whole reason we did that. Let's see. All right, let's put this bad boy back together. I don't even remember how to do this. Okay, let's see. So first what I want to do is go ahead and do the accelerator pump. Got a new diaphragm. So this spring goes in this one. One ball bearing on top. Let me make sure this spring is in straight. Yep. And we got one ball bearing on top of that. Another ball bearing in the other little hole. And is it this one? Yeah. Looks like that. Spring goes in here. There we go. Yeah, because it wants to push that back up when you're pushing. This little guy's going to be pushing on it, which is going to push the gas, and you want the spring to push it back up. So got it like that. This is the hard part because you can't turn it upside down because then all the ball bearings fall out. So you just gotta take your time and be careful. Make sure this is right. There we go. Yep. That's right. So this, look at that. Is that right or is that wrong? I think I got it. This one goes here. This one here. I'm gonna test it. Put the little rod in. Feels right. Won't really know till we get some gas in there, but feels like it's right. Next thing I want is a little spray nozzle. This little guy. So this is the mouth of the carburetor. So you want that little slice in that little piece to be facing this way. You want it to, when you pump, when this opens a little bit, you want it to squirt that way. So when I pull this off, I want to make sure this is facing this way. So let me put it back on there first. Okay, now I'm going to adjust it so that it's facing me. which it's about 90 off. There we go. So that looks good. Everything's looking good, looking good. Accelerator pump boot, got a new one, come with the kit. So we want to put that on there. Put the accelerator pump shaft in there, so that's gonna go through. This really wasn't that bad and it was sealing pretty good, so I think what I'm gonna do is just clean it up a little bit. Yeah, so we'll go ahead and bolt this back in, tighten it up. Got the old needle here, we're gonna go ahead and put the new needle in. Whoops, make sure that rod's in there. Hang the needle on there, set it in the seat. Like they used to tell me when I was a kid, get in your seat! The hold down screw. Now we got the float bowl. Now you can always test it by moving this in and out. You can blow through it with it down, and then when you pull it up, that would be just like as if the float had gas in it. So that's a good seal. Gasket, float bowl gasket. Like that. Little O-ring on there for the seal. Now I can put this back together. Nope, I wasn't off. There we go. I was too far forward. It does have these thin little gaskets. One is for right here. So it comes with 2 O-rings. Smaller one goes on the carburetor. Bigger one goes on the spacer block. And you can tell it's been on there a while because it's flat. Kind of want to work it from one side, just kind of squish it into the groove. And there you go. All right, folks, one rebuilt S&S carburetor. Let's go put it on the bike. So I was about to put the carburetor on, and then I just realized that, I don't know if you can see that. Can you see where this hose, let me get these cables, these throttle cables. That's not good. That's basically a pinch. So somebody put a new hose in here and it's pinched off. Just because a bike is running good or working good doesn't mean it's exactly correct or right. This is gonna have to be addressed. What I'll probably do is I'll probably switch this hose to where it'll cross over to this side, and then the one from the other side can come into here, because, well, I'll figure out which ones. I'll take all the hoses off, drain the gas, take the hoses off, then I'll figure out which one controls what, and then I'll route the hose accordingly. I'm gonna get rid of all of this braided stuff because this stuff's just kind of, I don't know why somebody would want to show off the hoses instead of making them hide. So anyways, I'm gonna figure this out and then I'll reroute the hoses. You don't need to watch all of that stuff, but then I'll show you what I came up with, and we'll put the carburetor back on and get everything hooked back up. All right. Got the carburetor back installed. I did go ahead and put all new hoses, the black hoses in there. That way it's all run correctly. You can see how this one has a nice smooth arch up to that one. The other one from the other side has a smooth wrap that way. Then the feed line, I went ahead and put a new feed line so that comes down. And then I went ahead and I thought about the 90 and I didn't do it, and then I ended up doing it. So that's gonna give it a new seat for the needle and seat for the float valve. There we go. When putting the throttle cables back on, you wanna get it on there, because to take it off, you wanna loosen these up so you have the extra end play in the cables to get the cables off the carburetor when removing that. So now I got all this stuff. So the proper way to adjust cables, I don't know if anybody knows that, is you don't want to do the throttle side and then mess with the return. You want to do them both equally, so that way you get full opening of the butterfly valve. So what you do is just kind of like one turn on that one turn on this one, that one, this one, just keep going back and forth till you get that play out of the throttle. I don't know how many times I get bikes in that it's all cranked out on one side and nothing on the other side. They're like, yeah, it either doesn't snap back nice and clean, or if I take the air cleaner off and I pull the throttle, it only opens it like 3/4 of the way. So right now I have very little snap back on this throttle. That's not safe, that's not good. So what I'm gonna do is make sure all the lines are ran correctly. I need to grab my flashlight so I can make sure. You wanna make sure sometimes when you're putting the throttle cables on, and I do it sometimes too, is that sometimes it doesn't fall in the groove of like the cam gear. I don't know if it's cam, it's not a gear, but the cam that rotates to turn the throttle. So sometimes that happens. This carburetor has had some stuff just sitting. So let me get some spray. We're gonna spray some spray on there, get it to do that. Let's go ahead and lube these cables. And then that way, let's lube the cables first. If that doesn't help, then it's gonna be just gunk and stuff that's on these springs and stuff like that. So we could spray it with some cleaner, and then we can spray it with some lubricant and see if that helps it out. So I hope you can see this. So got the cables loose, housing loose, and I can see the cables. Look at that, that's kind of nasty in there. So looks like maybe somebody put grease or something in there, which isn't what you want to do. So what I use is I use Bike 8. It's dry slide. It's a cable moly dry film lubricant. I'll put a couple of little drops on the actual cable itself, lube up this part of the cable, and then put some over here on this side. So then with this little slide, I can put that right inside the housing with the cable and then give it some squeezes. Hold the cables down so that way the lubricant goes down in there. Give it a few twists and see what happens. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Give it a little bit more. Okay. Anytime you take this apart, you got to be real careful because you can break the little tip off of the brake light switch. So anytime you put this together, you want to put a little bit of pressure. Sometimes people will put something in here to hold the lever in the brake on position. That way you can get this rotated in there and then put on, and then you let go and it's holding pressure against the brake light switch. If you don't, you can break that tip off, and if you break that tip off, you're gonna ride around with your brake lights completely on all the time. Still not popping, but it does seem a little bit better. So now that we got that, I'm gonna go ahead and spray down here a little bit on both sides of these springs. See if we can work it a little bit. I'm liking it. So I put some lubricant on there. I forgot to spray it with some cleaner, so let's do that first. This is just a brake clean. Anytime you're doing this, you wanna make sure the gas valve is off, because what you'll be doing is every time I'm twisting this, it's pushing the accelerator pump, which normally if it had gas in it, it would just be shooting gas in there and you're gonna flood out your motor. So the first time you start it up, it's gonna be crazy rich. It'll probably foul out your plugs. So you don't wanna do that. But look at that, now it's nice and crisp, coming right back. So now I'll put a little bit of the lubricant back on there. Snapping back nice and crisp. Air cleaner. So don't forget, keep an eye on that choke knob. It's gotta slide in there and hold that in so that way we can push it on. Just gonna start the screws. That way I make sure the gasket float around a little bit, line itself up. Choke knob working, sweet. Another thing on S&S carburetors, a lot of people like to screw this top brass screw in and out, trying to adjust the idle. That's the air fuel mixture screw. The idle screw is going to be right next to the throttle and idle cable. The screw on the right hand side is the accelerator pump adjustment. A lot of people think, oh yeah, I'll just change the idle, and then they screw it without watching how far they turn it, and then they throw it. They throw their whole air fuel mixture out of whack. And there you have it. S&S carb clean. New fuel lines. Gas tank is drained. Should be good to go. Let's check the spark plugs, and then we'll clean those if needed. Then we're gonna put the battery in. Then we will try to crank it over. We'll look it over first, and then we'll try to crank it over. So, what did I just say we were gonna do? Damn it. Well, that took a little bit longer than I expected, getting that carburetor clean and everything put back on. I'm gonna go ahead and end this video here. We're gonna do another part on this one, part 2, and that one we'll actually get it running. You gotta see what happens once I get it running, and then we're gonna take it for a test ride. And there's a couple of surprises in here that I think you guys will kind of think is kind of crazy. Some might think it's kind of cool. Let's continue this on the next one of getting this bike that's been sitting for over 10 years back on the road. So don't forget to like and subscribe, and push that notification bell. Might as well. That way I can notify you when the second part comes up, and that way you'll be notified and you can check it out. And don't forget, you can also follow me for day-to-day content, funny stuff, and whatever on my Instagram at Garley's Garage. Y'all have a great one. And here you go. YouTube wants you to watch this one. I think you should watch this one. Like and subscribe. I'm Adam Garley, and I'm out of here. Peace!